Today will be the final day of in-person instruction for students in the Kern High School District as COVID numbers continue to rise. That announcement coming as the California Interscholastic Federation also made the decision to pause athletics until at least next year. The CIF saying it's following guidance from the state's Department of Public Health and will put practices and games on hold until after January 1st. The CIF also announcing it will cancel regional and state championships to potentially allow for more student athletes to compete in longer seasons. And joining us this morning to talk more about that decision is the Commissioner of the CIF Central Section, Ryan Tos. Ryan, thank you for being here.
Good morning, Mike. Happy to be here.
When the decision was officially made to pause practices and modify your seasons again, when did that happen recently?
Well, we've been hoping for new guidance from the California Department of Public Health for weeks, if not months. And as it became increasingly clear that that guidance was not going to come out anytime soon, the state office felt it was important to put out a statement basically explaining our current situation and saying, we don't expect guidance until January, and therefore no practice, no competition until that point in time. I would point out, Mike, students are still able to condition if the local school or local district allows it. We're kind of probably 50-50 on schools and districts that are going to allow that, or some are just going to put a stop to that too, just to err on the side of safety.
How many plans have you torn up since last summer with potential modified schedules?
I probably don't even want to count that. And there's probably numerous plans that never even made their way to paper. There's just ideas that come to mind, and it's all hypotheticals. It's all what ifs based on what we're allowed to do. That's the hardest part for our schools and our students, I think, is the waiting and the unknown. And it's not any different for us in the office. If we knew for sure when A, students were back on campus, and B, when the Department of Public Health would say you can start playing games, this would be a much easier scenario. But then, unfortunately, that's not the case. None of us have a crystal ball, and so we're all kind of stuck waiting together.
Let's just forget about the worst case scenario, because everybody understands what that would mean. Talking about a best case scenario for getting back on the field. First of all, let's just examine just the logistics as far as this goes. You have so many sports over an entire high school calendar year. How do you fit all those into, say, the second semester kind of a thing?
Well, I think you'd have to be looking at things like possibly shortened regular seasons or possibly no section playoffs. It's important with that announcement. We do try to clarify, the state office, they run the regional and state events, and they made the decision to cancel those. Our office runs the Central Section Championships, or what traditionally people have called Valley in the Kern area. And so those events have not been canceled at this point in time.
Okay.
But it is, that is something that's on the, unfortunately, that's something we may have to consider. And that decision was to be made, it would be for the same reason the state made their decision. Instead of having events for 30-40% of our schools, we would try to open it up so 100% of our schools could maybe play a few more games.
And is there a chance, since the spring season last year got canceled, that if it were to happen, it would extend maybe into late June or July?
Well, we're already planning on going into June.
Okay.
And actually finishing up in late June. You mentioned you have a son. I have a son. Both play spring sports. I think sometimes people forget that, we're parents as well, and it hurts us just as like everybody else. And so we absolutely, our worst case scenario this time is, to lose those spring sports again and to have student athletes miss 2 seasons in a row. We obviously want to keep every sport and help every student athlete. But that's going to be kind of the last hill to stand, is to try to find a way to get those spring sports in.
I'm sure you're dealing apparently with a lot of parents' frustrations over the unknown and pointing to other states and saying, well, they're already playing, they're making it work, why can't we? What's your response to them?
Our response is that, we have a plan and we're ready to go. Our dates have been ready since July 20, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic and the numbers that, we've seen increase in California, the Department of Public Health is saying no youth sports competition is allowed. And at this point, no what I would call traditional practice is allowed, in which student athletes would get within 6 feet of each other and do things like that. And so I share the frustration. I think California is a wonderful state. It has a lot going for it. But there are times I think people do look at other states and go, man, I wish we could do what they're doing. But something that's a little bit out of our control.
Ryan Tos, Commissioner with the CIF Central Section, want to say thank you for joining us this morning and providing a little more insight. And have a great holiday. We'll talk to you January 1st.
Boy, I sure hope we have good news in January. So have a great holiday yourself.
Very good.